Are you struggling to pack on more muscle, feeling stuck despite crushing it in the gym? Here's the truth that nobody tells you. Building your next 15 pounds of muscle is completely different from your first 15. The methods that got you here will not get you there. I'm Josh Bridgman, IFBB pro, professional bodybuilder and transformation coach who's helped hundreds of natural lifters break through plateaus. From doctors, pilots, plumbers and nurses, I've helped people gain 15 pounds of muscle no matter their profession. Today I'm breaking down the exact blueprint that you need to stimulate new growth, optimize your nutrition, and finally break through that plateau. No bro science, no BS supplements, just proven strategies that work for natural lifters. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's been holding you back and how to fix it. And before you all point out the obvious, yes, I'm not natural. I've been using steroids for the last 6 years, but before this life, I was a top natural bodybuilder and only chose this route to become the best in the world, which I felt like was a necessary step to take for me. Let's start with the biggest misconception about building muscle. Progressive overload isn't enough anymore. You need strategic overload. Here's what most people get wrong. They either do too much volume with terrible intensity, or they do too little volume with good intensity. Both, in my opinion, are leaving gains on the table. The sweet spot for growth, the perfect training split, looks something like this. 4 to 5 training days per week, 2 to 3 really hard sets per exercise, RPE 8 to 9 on compound movements. Now RPE stands for rate of perceived exertion. So basically, if I was to tell you that 10, you could not physically move that bar again, I want you to work at like an 8 or a 9, so you're saving 1 or 2 reps in reserve. This is gonna maximize the bang for your buck on that set. Each set will be taken as close to mechanical failure as possible. For example, let me take you through a pull push day. You've got a pec deck. I want you to do 2 or 3 sets on this exercise. You probably could push this to 3 sets because if you think about a pec deck versus like a big press, you're using a little bit less energy to do that. And using less energy is when we start to increase the sets. Then once you've warmed up the joint, you've got everything moving, I'll then work into your main pressing movements, an incline press, a flat press. This is when you'd probably pull back to like 2 sets. But again, remembering that RPE training very, very hard. Now, a lot of people get carried away with 3, 4, 5 sets. I would argue that you're not putting enough effort into the 2 sets that you've got available. And we'll talk about what to do when that 2 sets doesn't feel like enough and you're still using these principles. Now that we've addressed your training, let's talk about like one of the most crucial pieces of the puzzle, and it's gonna be nutrition. This is where like 90% of the lifters get it wrong. Calorie surplus, forget the old eat everything in sight approach. It's outdated and quite frankly, it might ruin your gains on the way back down. If you gain too much fat, that can just lead to muscle loss when you're trying to lose it all. There are effective strategies to reduce those odds, and we're gonna talk about them right now. If you're trying to build muscle, but you're just not seeing results, it's probably the nutrition holding you back. So let's break it down. Number 1, eating a calorie surplus. We all know that, yeah? Muscle needs fuel to grow. If you're not eating more calories than you burn, you're not building size. I recommend, and this is what I recommend to all my clients, depending on their size, is gaining around 0.2 to half a kilo a week or half a pound to a pound a week. The bigger you are, the higher that number can be. The leaner you are, the higher that number can be. If you can imagine a gaining phase and a little bit of a bell curve, you could be a little bit more aggressive at the start and you would taper off as body fat starts to accumulate. The next thing, naturally, prioritize protein. Aim for at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight daily. Think lean meats, eggs, dairy, shakes. Animal proteins are gonna be your best bang for your buck. Carbs, they're actually your friend. Stop fearing carbs. They're gonna help fuel your workouts, they're gonna help with recovery, and we know that the most readily available source of energy that we use while training is gonna be carbohydrates. I want you to stick to rice, potatoes, oats, whole grains, while prioritizing carbohydrates pre and post workout. I think if you have those single ingredient carbohydrates, staying away from too many sugars, too many processed foods, you're gonna absorb and digest that food much better for you, leading to much better workouts. Let's not forget fats. Fats don't make you fat. Too many calories make you fat. Healthy fats are incredible for hormones. Testosterone literally equals more muscle. So if you can get fats from nuts, avocado, olive oil, you will keep your hormones optimized. Now we could talk a little bit about meal timing. Pre and post workout meals are very, very key. Making sure you're having a good serving of protein pre and post and a good serving of carbs pre and post. We actually know that having and serving yourself with carbohydrates and protein pre-workout and post-workout, you're gonna have a much bigger ability to not only perform well, but also recover well. We know that post-workout, you have an upregulation of GULT4 enzyme, which is basically a glucose transporter. So by that logic, we know we can transport much more glucose post-workout. So if you were to have a bigger meal of carbohydrates, I'd recommend putting that post-workout. In fact, I'd probably encourage that post-workout to recover better and get yourself prepared for the next session. Covering recovery, I think you guys need to understand that you don't actually gain muscle when you train. You gain it when you're resting, sleeping, recovering. So it's probably a good idea to actively do so. And you might not be overtrained, you might just be under-recovered. So the things that people never tell you about recovery is that the difference between good results and great results come down to like these few pillars that I'm gonna go over. Sleep. Sleep literally equals gains. You grow when you sleep. You know, we really wanna focus on getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night. No sleep, no recovery, it's gonna massively inhibit your gains. We know that sleep cycles work in 90 minutes, so we actually wanna try and make sure we get 5 of those per night, which is about 7.5 hours. So if you are erring under 7.5 hours per night, I would highly recommend trying to just push for that 7.5 hour mark. It's gonna help with lymphatic draining, it's gonna help with protein repair, it's gonna help with growth hormone release naturally, and it's generally just gonna make you feel better cognitively as well as physically. So it's very, very important that you put the effort in to sleep. The next thing is gonna be to fuel your recovery. Of course, we already mentioned protein. Make sure you hit your protein, make sure you stay in the calorie surplus, make sure you hydrate like an athlete. Your body can't build muscle without the right nutrients, so it's very important to cover those. Manage your stress, like high stress, high cortisol, way less gains. Lift heavy in the gym, but make sure you're relaxed outside. That might mean you do a 10-minute daily walk to calm down. It might mean that you do some meditation. It might mean that you journal. It might mean that you do something that allows you to take the stresses of the day away, because quite literally, stress will kill your gains. So if you are in a highly stressful environment and you notice yourself trying everything to grow, but nothing's working, might be that high stress environment. So try to take some tactics, try to do some things that can help dissipate that. Don't skip mobility and active recovery. Like a stiff, tight body is not gonna perform well. Stretch, foam roll, throw in some light movement on rest days. Do all this away from your workouts and you're gonna just feel a lot better in the gym, recover better, sleep better, which is gonna be great. Optimize your supplementation. Like there are actual supplements that will help you recover, that will help you perform better. Creatine is the most researched backed product on planet Earth at this moment in time for performance. Like we literally know that it increases your energy stores. You have creatine phosphate molecules that when they break, they create energy. The phosphate molecule wants to regain a bond with the creatine molecule, or if you've got an abundance of creatine, there's more phosphate molecules attaching to that creatine, again, creating more energy when it breaks. Magnesium, omegas, they can massively help with sleep, your central nervous system. They can help you recover. It's important to know that you shouldn't rely on supplements because you should try and cover as much of that micronutrition as you can from your diet. But if you're not, you don't like fish, you don't have enough like red meat for magnesium or metals, then maybe you need to supplement it. But sleep, food, and then stress management come first, and then supplements are like sprinkling it on top. Finally, I want to talk about time frame, one of the most overlooked pieces to this puzzle that wraps all of the above together. Muscle doesn't get put down overnight. In fact, it takes months, it takes years, so you have to invest time into this. This is what I'd recommend for most of you guys watching this and 99% of my clients. Is if you come from a place that you're just trying to gain muscle solely, I want you to really focus on going through a bulk phase for at least 6 months. Why? Because it takes a long time to get good exercises, to get stronger exercises, to take your body weight up, to build muscle. But what happens when you do that for 6 months? Occasionally, your appetite gets stifled, so you can't eat anymore. We already discussed this. If you can't eat, you can't grow. You also might gain too much body fat. If you gain too much body fat, it's going to become an uphill battle for when you have to lose that body fat again and keep the muscle. It's also the higher body fat that you get, the more inclined your body is to accumulate more body fat. This is when you would implement a 6 to 8 week cut. This can be pretty aggressive off the bat, like over 1 kilo a week is absolutely fine. Maladaptations to cutting usually take like 8+ weeks. So if you can get in and you can get out, you can restore your appetite, you can pull off the body fat that you don't need on your body so it helps you when you come back down, you could literally be ready to bulk again for the next 6 months. But before that, what I love to do is implement a maintenance week. This is where we just go from that deep cut to find your new maintenance level. You got to think you're taking off body weight, you're taking off energy, you're eating lower for a period of time. We just want to take a little bit of time getting back to maintenance rather than just going from cut, super lean to just bulk, getting fat again. We just maintain it. There's a lot of value in just holding body weights. And that might be the same at the top of a cut, that might be the same at the bottom of a bulk, like either or. I think it's a really good idea just to spend a few weeks maintaining. Once you've established your new maintenance, once you've established the new body fat levels, you can then just repeat the cycle and go back into a bulk. And I think if you just continue with these principles over a long period of time, that 15 pounds of muscle that you're dying to get is going to come on so much easier. When you take this approach, it really allows you to maximize the time in a surplus with a short, sharp cut phase that will wash off the excess body fat. You can see from this structure, the goal is just to spend as much time in a calorie surplus as possible while applying the principles above. The times that myself and my clients have made the most progress is when I've taken a full year to make a physical change. It might mean that you have to put fat loss on the back burner temporarily, but in the pursuit of more muscle mass. You do these principles for a long period of time and you have the complete blueprint for the next 15 pounds of muscle. I'll quickly recap so you guys can kind of understand what we said here. Some of the things that might be holding you back could be too much volume, not enough volume, not training hard enough, not taking care of your recovery and actively sleeping, you're just kind of doing. You also might not be eating and fueling yourself right. You also might not be combining all of those things into one. And finally, you might just not be giving yourself the time that you need to do it. A lot of people come to me and they say, yeah, I bulked for 3 months, I cut for 2 months, I bulked for 3. You kind of like at net zero when you're doing that. So what I want you to do is invest the time, combine all of the principles that you've heard in this video, and just repeat and repeat and repeat. Make sure you're tracking your training, make sure you're tracking your nutrition, make sure you're categorically saying to yourself, I'm in a muscle building environment here. I'm sleeping well, I'm eating well, I'm training well. Those are going to be your pillars to success. So if you guys want to see exactly how I structure my clients' training splits, maximize them for growth, maximize their nutrition, you can hit the link in the description box and you'll get a free diagnostic call with myself or my team. And we'll go over everything that you're doing right now and we'll offer you some advice completely for free. We'll also just explain how we could potentially help you as well. So if you enjoy this video, if you enjoy this type of content, smash the like button, drop a comment. Would love to hear you more in the next video. Maybe we'll show you the next 15 pounds and that'd be 30 pounds. That would be incredible, wouldn't it? Who knows what we'll see next, but I appreciate you guys for stopping by and we'll see you in the next one.